Hi everyone, I'm Holly from Handprinted, and in this video I'm going to do some tie-dye. Specifically, I'm going to do some rainbow spiral tie-dye. You can do this technique on all sorts of things. You can do bags, garments, or just plain fabric. 100% cotton will be best. And for best results, pre-wash your fabric to remove any coatings so that it takes the dye well. I'm going to be using Procyon MX dyes. I've got these jacquard dyes here, and I'm using fuchsia, lemon and cerulean. You can also use turquoise if you want to. These three should give me a really nice colour range going through the rainbow when they mix. So the first thing to do is to prep my fabrics by pre-soaking it in a soda ash solution. I'm going to tie up my fabrics in a spiral, and then I'm going to soak them in soda ash. You want to soak them for about an hour or longer. You want to have 1 tablespoon of soda ash for every litre of warm water. So for the spiral, take a peg and peg the centre of your fabric. Make sure you've got the front and the back. Twist your peg and then tease the fabric round in a circle. Try and get it reasonably even. It's a little bit tricky and fiddly. You can have a few goes if you need to. Just work the fabric round in that spiral, and then we're going to use rubber bands to secure them. I'm going to use 3 rubber bands because I want to create a 6-sectioned circle. And then you can remove the peg. Make sure that it's all nice and secure. Neaten up those rubber bands so they meet in the centre, and then add the soda ash to your water to soak your bundles. So while my bags are soaking in the soda ash solution, I'm going to mix up my dyes. Now it's best to wear a mask for this and gloves because they stain. Okay, so I need 1 squirty bottle of each of my 3 colours. So I've got 3 squirty bottles ready to use here. We have these on the Handprinted website if you'd like to get your hands on some, but you can reuse bottles that you already have as well. So I need 200 millilitres of warm water and a teaspoon of Procyon MX dye. You can find these jacquard Procyon MX dyes at handprinted.co.uk. We also have lots of dyeing equipment and the soda ash that you need for fixing the dye. You can also find blank bags and fabrics as well, so have a look for everything you need for this project. Now it's time to squeeze the excess liquid out of our prepared fabrics. So I've got a tray here. I'm going to start off by putting yellow into 3 of these sections. You really want to make sure that you're squeezing the dye into the folds of the fabric. If you don't do that, you'll have more and more white sections. Turn the fabric over and squeeze into the gaps there as well. Now I'm going to clean out my tray because I don't want it to sit in the yellow dye. And now I want to add the fuchsia dye. I want to overlap one of the yellows and do these 2 as well. So now I want to do the blue. I want to do it in this one that hasn't been squirted with dye yet, and 2 either side. I should have a section of just blue, blue overlapped with pink, just pink, pink overlapped with yellow, just yellow, blue overlapped with yellow. So I should have my rainbow on both sides all the way around. There'll be a little bit of blending and splashing, but that's okay. Now I want to wrap it up in a plastic bag. I haven't got any excess dye in there. I need to let that sit for about 24 hours. We don't want to move it around too much because we don't want the colours to mix, so I'm just going to leave it to one side. After 24 hours, you want to rinse out your fabrics. So you just use cold water to rinse them while they're still tied, and rinse them until the water runs clear, and then you can untie them. Untying them under running water can help too, to get rid of excess dye. You can then untie them to reveal your designs. After you've untied them, put them in a hot wash with detergent, non-bio is best, and this will remove the excess dye. Then you can leave them to dry. To make sure that you don't dye any of your next washing load, run another cycle with detergent on the hot cycle with an empty drum. I also used some excess dye on some scraps of fabric. I twisted this one to just make a simple pattern with some leftover blue and yellow dye. And then I folded another scrap of fabric into squares and rolled it up, squirted with green and blue dye to create this pattern, so no waste. Happy printing!